First story. My entitled daughter had a lot of money from her job, so I demanded she share the house bill and buy her stepsister lunch at school. She refused and told her stepsister to get a job, so I demanded my ex stop giving our daughter an allowance. He refused, so I forced a relationship between the two sisters. Now one abandoned me, and one hates me. I 43F have a 16-year-old daughter, Natalie, from a previous relationship. She splits her time between me and my ex, Aaron 45M, who's remarried and has 2 younger kids with his wife, Marissa 38F. I also have a stepdaughter, Kylie 15F, from my current marriage. Natalie used to be with me most of the time, but things started changing about a year ago when I asked her to share a room with Kylie. We only have a 3-bedroom house, and with her younger stepbrother needing his own space, I figured it made sense for the 2 teenage girls to bunk together. Natalie did not take it well. She argued about privacy and having to baby Kylie and said it wasn't fair. I told her she only stays here half the time, and that this was the most reasonable arrangement, especially since Kylie lives with us full-time. Instead of adjusting, Natalie started spending more time at her dad's. Fine. I didn't love it, but she's old enough to choose. Still, it stung that she'd rather be at her dad's with his wife and their new family than with me. Over time, she started acting a little colder, more distant. I chalked it up to teenage stuff, but it never really stopped. The current issue. Lunch money. Aaron gives Natalie $25 a week as a lunch allowance. Their school is down the street from a bunch of fast food spots and restaurants. Rather than eating in the cafeteria, Natalie and her friends walk off campus and grab food. This is apparently a big thing at their school, kids pooling money, going to Starbucks, Chipotle, Panda Express, whatever. It's become part of their social routine. I've seen her post Snapchats and Insta stories of her and her friends eating outside, laughing, and posing with boba teas and burgers. It's a thing. But here's where it starts bothering me. Kylie goes to the same school. She sees Natalie during lunch. Natalie will have takeout. Her friends will too. But Kylie is left sitting there with her packed lunch from home. She doesn't say anything, but I can tell it stings. She's told me quietly, in passing. It just sucks sometimes. What really got me was a few weeks ago. Natalie came home. She still visits on weekends, and I casually asked her, "Hey, do you ever grab something for Kylie when you're out getting food?" She immediately shut it down. "No, why would I? My friends pay me back. Kylie can't." I told her that's not the point. It's about being kind. Natalie just shrugged and said it's not her job to feed someone else's kid. That really rubbed me the wrong way. I reminded her that Kylie's her stepsister. They used to be closer before the room thing. I know they're not best friends, but they're still family. Natalie said, "That's your problem. You married into her, not me." That comment pissed me off. I didn't even respond because I knew I'd say something I'd regret. I dropped it for the moment, but it lingered. Kylie, for context, has some challenges. She's in sports and is trying to keep her grades up. She also has ADHD and struggles with bouts of depression. We've been working hard with therapy and school accommodations. Getting a job, like Natalie has, isn't really doable for her right now. We've explained this to the girls before, but I don't think Natalie ever really cared to understand. When Kylie told me that Natalie came back from lunch the other day with food from her favorite Thai place and didn't even offer her a spring roll, I hit my breaking point. She said she saw Natalie laughing with her friends, carrying a bag of food, and when Kylie walked by and said, "Hey," Natalie barely looked at her. Kylie cried in her room that night. So I called Aaron. I tried to keep it calm. I explained the situation and said, "Hey, maybe just talk to Natalie about being a little more inclusive. It wouldn't kill her to grab an extra taco now and then for her stepsister." Aaron straight up refused. He said Kylie's not his responsibility, and neither is her lunch. He said Natalie earns her spending money through a part-time job, and that she has every right to use her allowance how she wants. I reminded him that Kylie can't work right now, and he cut me off. "Then that's on you and your husband to figure out." He then said something that really floored me. Natalie doesn't have to feel guilty for being better off. I couldn't even respond to that. I told him he was being cruel and dismissive, and he just hung up on me. At this point, I was furious and hurt. Mostly for Kylie, but also for how Aaron and Natalie seem to look down on us. Like, because we don't have the same financial setup. It means Kylie just has to eat crumbs and watch Natalie flaunt her $14 sushi bento boxes every day. It's mean. So, I called Aaron back the next day and told him flat out, "You need to stop giving Natalie the $25 a week. She can make lunches at home. Or give her less. Or give Kylie something too. But this imbalance is hurting another child. I won't stand for it. He refused. He said he's not punishing his daughter because I can't keep up financially, and that if Kylie wants to eat out, she can get a job like Natalie or bring her own food like the rest of the students. I tried to explain again Kylie's in sports. She's dealing with mental health stuff. But he repeated, not my problem. To make matters worse, Natalie found out I called her dad. She came over the following weekend and barely said a word to me. Just long silences and cold looks. Finally, she said, "You really told Dad to stop giving me lunch money because of Kylie?" I told her. I told him it's not right that you rub your privilege in her face every day. She said, "It's not my fault you married someone else's kid. Don't make me pay for your choices." Then she grabbed her stuff and said she's staying at her dad's full-time for a while. She hasn't been back since. And that brings me to now. I'm stuck between my own daughter icing me out and my stepdaughter asking, did I do something wrong? I feel like I'm trying to stand up for what's fair, but maybe I'm overreaching. Natalie is technically using her own money. Erin is her parent. But Kylie is a kid too. She deserves to feel seen, not invisible. I haven't heard a single word from Natalie in almost 3 weeks. Her birthday's in a month, and I don't even know if she plans to spend it here. I doubt it. Meanwhile, Kylie's walking on eggshells in her own home. She still sees Natalie at school. Says she tries to smile or wave, but Natalie looks straight through her. She told me last Friday, "I think your daughter hates me." I told her, no, she's just being a teenager. But honestly, I wasn't even sure I believed it. What makes this worse is how petty Natalie's gotten. She started posting photos on her story big takeout meals with captions like, "Earned it," and "Some of us work for what we want." Her friends are in the comments hyping her up. I know I shouldn't be stalking a teenager's Instagram, but when your kid stops talking to you, you look where you can. She even posted a picture of boba and wrote, "Get your own next time." I'm not stupid. That was for Kylie. And look, I get it, Natalie works. She has a job at a local smoothie place on weekends. Her dad gives her an allowance. She handles her grades. She's responsible. But the way she flaunts it now is different. There's an edge to it, like she's proud to rub it in. Aaron, of course, thinks this is all in my head. When I told him the posts felt targeted, he said, "You're looking for reasons to be offended." When I said Kylie's been crying more often, he said maybe we should stop comparing the girls. When I said Natalie was shutting me out completely, he said, maybe you should have supported her instead of attacking her independence. Unbelievable. I've asked myself if I created this mess. Maybe pushing her to share a room with Kylie lit the first match. Maybe asking her to share her lunch money was too much. But what kind of kid sees her stepsister sitting alone with a PB&J while she's surrounded by friends and fast food and doesn't even offer a fry? I know teenagers are selfish. But this feels like more than that. Kylie's not perfect either. She can be moody, forgetful, and reactive when her ADHD flares. But she's never mean. She looks up to Natalie even now. She told me last night, "I wish she liked me again." That hit hard. I tried to talk to Natalie once since she left. I texted her, "I miss you. Can we talk?" She left it on read. I saw the little scene checkmark and nothing else. 4 hours later, she posted another picture of her and her dad getting burgers. My real family feeds me. That one wasn't even subtle. Marissa, Aaron's wife, finally texted me 2 nights ago and said, "Natalie's really upset. She feels like you chose your stepdaughter over her." I told her that wasn't true, that I was just trying to make things fair. She said, "Well, she doesn't see it that way." That's the problem. No one's even trying to see Kylie's side. She's treated like background noise. Like because she's not Natalie's real sister, her feelings don't count. But they do. She's still a kid in the same house, same school, same lunch hour, sitting across the courtyard watching someone she used to share coloring books with act like she doesn't exist. So here I am, with one daughter icing me out, and another one internalizing that she's not worth a $5 taco. And Aaron thinks I'm the dramatic one. I've even considered giving Kylie her own weekly lunch money, but we genuinely don't have it. My husband and I both work, but between groceries, bills, therapy copays, and gas, we're stretched thin. And frankly, the issue isn't money. It's empathy. Natalie could offer once in a while. She just doesn't. Last week, Kylie asked me if we could stop by the Thai place Natalie always goes to. She looked excited about it, like it might make her feel included somehow. I said yes, of course. We got takeout, and she smiled the whole drive home. Then she asked, "Do you think Natalie would have wanted to come with us if we invited her?" I didn't answer. Because no, I don't think she would have. This whole thing has spiraled beyond lunch money. It's become about who matters and who doesn't. Who gets seen, who gets skipped. And now I feel like I'm the only one actually trying to protect both girls while everyone else picks sides. So I'm putting this out here. Not because I think I'm totally innocent, I know I can be overbearing. But because I genuinely thought asking a teenager to occasionally buy her stepsister a slice of pizza wasn't outrageous. Apparently it was. So, Reddit. Am I really the arsehole? Comments. Comment 1. YTA. Full stop. Look, I get that you want to protect Kylie. And I'm sure it sucks seeing your stepdaughter cry. But what you're doing is weaponizing your older daughter's independence against her, because your household can't match it. Natalie earns money. Her dad gives her an allowance. That's their setup. You don't get to call up your ex and demand he change how he parents his own kid to fix your family's emotional imbalance. That's not his job, and it's not Natalie's either. Also, forcing a 16-year-old girl to share her bedroom with another teenager she barely tolerates. Then acting surprised when she pieces out and never comes back. Come on. That was your first mistake. You basically told her, "This house isn't really yours anymore," and now you're mad she made herself at home elsewhere. Natalie's being a teenager, yeah, but you're being petty and trying to equalize something that's not equal. You're mad she's thriving in a different household, and you're projecting it onto her lunch money. That's honestly wild. Comment 2. YTA. Okay, I don't think you're evil. I think you're hurt, overwhelmed, and trying to do right by a vulnerable kid, Kylie. That's admirable. But you're also punishing the wrong person for the wrong reasons. Natalie is emotionally distancing from your household because you treated her like a guest in it. She had a room. You took it and gave her a roommate. That's fine if you're tight on space, but let's not pretend that didn't set the tone. You made her feel like an afterthought. So she prioritized the home where she feels like a daughter, not a boarder. Now, instead of repairing that wound, you're making her responsible for Kylie's emotional well-being. Natalie's being a brat, yes, but she's also reacting to a system where she got the short end emotionally for years. She's acting out. She's petty. She's also 16. And Aaron. That man is emotionally bankrupt. This, not my problem attitude is peak bitter ex energy. He's not obligated to Kylie, but he is obligated to co-parent with some damn empathy. He failed. What you should have done. Sit Natalie down and ask her how she feels. Let her talk. Apologize for how the room situation made her feel like second tier. Then explain why Kylie's hurt. Right now, she thinks this is a guilt trip dressed up as parenting. Fix the foundation, not the lunch menu. Comment 3. Hard YTA. And I'm saying this as someone who can't stand entitled teens. But this isn't that. You're punishing Natalie for not pretending to live in a perfectly blended Brady Bunch fantasy, when, in reality, she's made it very clear she doesn't feel like part of your new family. And instead of dealing with that rejection head-on, you redirected it into this lunch money crusade. You created this divide when you forced her to share a room with Kylie. You told her non-verbally that she's now just a half guest in your house. That her space isn't hers anymore. That Kylie's comfort comes first. And now you're shocked she doesn't want to play big sister over pad thai. Then you try to micromanage what she eats and who she shares with, using your guilt as the reason. And let's be real, you didn't ask Natalie to be kind. You demanded she emotionally subsidize Kylie to compensate for your parenting choices and your financial situation. And you dragged her father into it. Tried to cut off her allowance because she wouldn't buy a quesadilla for a kid she barely connects with anymore. That's vindictive as hell. And now you're mad she went no contact. Natalie isn't an arsey hole. She's reacting to years of being made to feel like a second-tier kid. You lost control of the household and tried to wrestle it back through guilt, money, and food. And it backfired. YTA. Learn from it. Update. A few people asked for an update, and since a lot has changed, here it is. After Natalie left, I didn't hear from her for over a month. I sent a birthday card with a small gift. No response. She didn't come by. Didn't even text. I reached out twice. Nothing. What broke the silence was Kylie. She got herself a job. I came home from work one afternoon and saw her sitting on the couch filling out tax forms. I asked what she was doing, and she said she got hired part-time at a frozen yogurt place a few blocks from school. I was stunned. She's 15. She has ADHD. She's in sports and therapy. I asked her why she even wanted to work right now, and she just said, "So people stop feeling bad for me." That hit me. I didn't realize how deep this ran for her. I thought she just felt left out. Turns out she felt like a charity case. She never said it directly, but I know that's what it was. It made me feel like I failed both girls. Around that same time, things got tight financially. Our car broke down, needed a new radiator and tires. A week later, we got hit with an out-of-pocket bill from Kylie's therapist. Insurance wouldn't cover a new assessment she needed for her IEP at school. $700. Between all of that, we were barely scraping by. And yeah, I'll admit it, I was resentful. Natalie was over there getting steak lunches and boba, while we were wondering how we'd pay for groceries. I wanted her to see that, so I called her. I didn't say, "Come home." I said, "You live here too. You should help pay for the car that drove you to school. The bills that supported you for years." She laughed and said, "That's wild, Mum. You kicked me out, and now you want money?" Then she hung up. A few days later, Marissa texted me. She said she wasn't trying to meddle, but felt like I needed to hear this. Natalie wasn't just angry about the lunch thing. She felt like she'd been invisible in my home for years. Like the moment I married my husband, I shifted into being Kylie's protector and made Natalie the difficult one. According to Marissa, Natalie said she used to try, but nothing she did was right, and that the room sharing thing was just the final proof I didn't care how she felt. It stung. Because I couldn't even argue. She wasn't wrong. I did favor Kylie. Maybe not consciously at first, but looking back, yeah, I did. I stopped asking Natalie about her job or her friends. I always took Kylie's side when they argued. I used to brush off Natalie's frustration as just teen girl drama and told her to be the bigger person because Kylie had issues. I guess I never noticed how often I did that until someone else laid it out for me. I sat with that for a while. A week later, Natalie messaged me. Just said, "Can I come by and get some of my things?" I said yes. She showed up with her dad, but came in alone. She didn't speak much. Just packed a bag and grabbed some books. I tried to talk, but she kept it surface level. I told her I missed her. She nodded but didn't say it back. Then something unexpected happened. Kylie walked in. I braced for tension, but Natalie just looked at her and said, "Hey." Kylie said hi. Natalie asked how school was. Kylie said she got the job. Natalie raised her eyebrows and said, "Nice." Then she left. 2 nights later, Kylie told me they talked for a bit at school, just about small things. Kylie said she told Natalie she didn't want her to feel hated or excluded, and Natalie told her, "It wasn't about you. It was always Mom." Then she walked off. I didn't know how to feel about that. After a few more weeks of silence, Natalie texted me, "I want to come home for a bit." She came back that weekend. We didn't do a big reunion, just a quiet dinner. She stayed in her room mostly, but she was there. I asked her later why she came back. She said, "I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to see if you still wanted me here." I said I did. I've been trying to show that, not just say it. I told her she doesn't have to share space with Kylie anymore. I moved Kylie's stuff out and gave Natalie her old room back. I cook her favorite dinners again. I ask about her job. I tried to listen without pushing her to understand Kylie. I finally realized I never really gave Natalie a chance to just be. I was always trying to manage her. And yeah, I'm still bitter sometimes. I still think she could have shown a little more kindness to Kylie. But I also get now why she didn't. She was drowning in resentment and didn't know how to say it. And I was too focused on keeping things fair to notice she felt replaced. Her birthday came and went. She spent it with her dad. I didn't make a big thing out of it. But she came home the next day with leftovers and offered Kylie a slice of cake. It wasn't some perfect olive branch. They didn't hug it out. But Kylie smiled and said thanks. And Natalie sat at the table while they ate it. That was the closest we've been to normal in months. So now I'm asking myself, was I the bad guy all along? Comments. Comment 1. Girl, you were not just the RC hole. You were the whole goddamn plumbing system. You emotionally evicted your daughter long before she physically left. You built a new family and expected her to just blend in without a glitch. Then got pissed when she said, "Nah, I'm good." The lunch money wasn't the issue. That was the match. The gasoline was years of favoritism and one-sided expectations. And then asking her to pay for your car repairs. The F. She's not your roommate. She's your kid. You don't get to ice her out emotionally, hand her bags at the door, and then send her Venmo requests for the radiator. The only reason she's back now is probably because she needed something from you, closure, space, or maybe she just missed the version of you she barely remembers. But don't confuse that for reconciliation. You have a long way to go before trust is restored. Also, props to Kylie for trying to be a bigger person than the adults in the room. She didn't ask for this war and handled it with more grace than anyone. Comment 2. I don't even know what judgment to give, because this feels like one long therapy case study in unresolved resentment. Everyone in this story is playing out a role. OP, the martyr mom, trying to keep it all together, but ends up weaponizing guilt. Natalie, the overlooked daughter, hardened and petty, but rightfully bitter. Kylie, the emotional sponge, always absorbing other people's SHT and never given space to just exist. The fact that Natalie told Kylie, "It wasn't about you. It was always Mom," says everything. You weren't protecting Kylie, you were using her as the emotional leverage you couldn't get from Natalie anymore. And now you're asking if you're the bad guy. You're not evil. But you've been operating from a place of deep insecurity and control for years. You're not a villain. But yeah, you were the arsehole. Not malicious. Just lost in your own mess. The good news is, you still have time to make it right. But only if you stop asking for sympathy and start showing change. Comment 3. YTA, and honestly, you're lucky she even came back. Let's call it what it is. You didn't like that Natalie was doing well without you. So you picked the one thing she had freedom to eat what she wanted with her own money and tried to take it. Not to help Kylie. Not to teach empathy. But to knock Natalie down a peg. And then when life kicked you in the teeth, car repairs, medical bills, you tried to flip the script and treat Natalie like a co-tenant. Pay your share? Are you serious? You shut her out emotionally, and now you want her to chip in financially. That's some manipulative crap right there. You did ignore her for years. You favored Kylie, and this update proves you only realized that when someone else pointed it out. You made her feel like she didn't belong, and now you're treating her return like some moral victory. Newsflash. She's probably back out of necessity, curiosity, or exhaustion, not because she suddenly forgave you. You're still not listening. You're still centering your pain. Start showing up for her instead of making every moment about your own damn redemption arc. Update. Things were going okay for a while after Natalie came back. Not great, but civil. She stayed in her room mostly, came down for dinner, went to work, and did her homework. Kylie tried to give her space. The house was quiet in that way where everyone's trying not to breathe wrong. I thought this meant we were healing. I see now that I just assumed things were better because I felt better. A couple weeks after she came back, I tried to do something to bring back our old connection. When she was younger, we had Friday girl nights. Movies, pizza, blankets on the couch. It was our thing. I told both girls we'd do it again. I picked the movie myself, something we used to watch when Natalie was little. I ordered pizza. I set up the living room exactly like I remembered. The second they walked in, I could tell it was wrong. Kylie looked uncomfortable, like she didn't want to step into something not meant for her. Natalie sat stiffly. It felt forced. But I pushed through, because I believed I was doing something meaningful. Halfway through the movie, Natalie got up and said she was going to bed. I asked her to stay just a bit longer, and she said, "This isn't for us, it's for you." That stung, but I didn't react. The next week, I tried something different. I thought maybe I could connect with her in her world. So, I went to the smoothie shop where she works. I didn't cause a scene, I just ordered something and tried to chat. She barely responded. Another day, I tried to surprise her with coffee before school. She told me not to show up at her work or school again. She said it in that flat voice where everything is held back, except the exhaustion. I told myself she'd appreciate the effort eventually. Then came the clothes situation. Kylie had a hoodie Natalie really liked. I suggested they share clothes again like sisters do. Kylie hesitated. She said she didn't want Natalie thinking she was trying to cling or copy her. Reasonable. But I told her she should let Natalie borrow it, because Natalie had been through a lot, and sharing would show support. Kylie reluctantly offered it to Natalie, who looked confused and said, "I don't need handouts." Kylie looked embarrassed. The air in the house was thick after that. I tried to explain my intention, but neither of them wanted to hear it. They were both uncomfortable, just in different directions, and I was in the middle insisting I was helping. Then we celebrated Natalie's birthday again. I wanted one good memory, one photo of us with actual smiles. I planned dinner at her favorite place. I told them to dress nicely because we could take pictures afterward, not staged, just one or two. I didn't make a big deal about the pictures. Or at least, I didn't think I did. The second I pulled out my phone, Natalie froze. I said we should get one photo of our blended family moving forward. She put her fork down and said, I told you I don't want to be in pictures for show. I said it wasn't for show, but yes, part of me did want proof we were healing. I wanted to feel like I had fixed something. She stood up and said she was taking her food to go. Kylie followed her out. Dinner ended with me sitting alone with 2 untouched plates. I thought I had finally hit the lowest point. Then Kylie got her first paycheck. It wasn't a lot. $86. I told her that we should all start contributing household share, now that she and Natalie are both teenagers and we're a combined family. I put her check into a labeled envelope in the kitchen cabinet. She cried. She said she only took the job so she could stop being a burden. She said I took the one thing she was proud of and turned it into proof she was costing us. I told her it was about responsibility and independence, not punishment. She didn't believe me, and maybe she shouldn't have. Later that night, I went into Natalie's room to ask why she was being so distant again. She wasn't there. Her door was open. I saw a journal on her bed. I didn't snoop to be malicious, I genuinely wanted to understand. To see what she was feeling so I could fix it. She walked in while I was still holding the notebook. She didn't yell. She just looked at me like something finally died. She left again that night and went straight to her dad's. The next afternoon, he called me. I expected yelling. Instead, his voice was quiet in that dangerous way. He told me Kylie had called him crying, saying she doesn't know how to make me happy, and she feels like every move she makes is wrong for somebody. He told me I am not to push either girl into bonding exercises, sharing clothes, forced dinners, staged family events, or financial contribution requests again. He said if the girls rebuild something, it has to come from them, not me. He said I need to stop treating guilt as a parenting strategy. I told him he has no right to tell me how to run my house. He said, "You're not running it. You're performing it." That sentence will not leave my head. So now here I am. Kylie is quiet again. Natalie is gone again. I don't understand why no one sees I'm trying. I don't understand why every attempt turns into another reason to blame me. I don't understand how doing my best made everything worse. But everyone seems very sure that it did. Comments. Comment 1. This is a textbook example of what emotional manipulation looks like when the manipulator doesn't even realize they're doing it. You don't scream, and you don't threaten, but you center yourself in every scenario. Every problem starts and ends with how you feel. You set the house on fire, and then cry that the smoke stings your eyes. Natalie is reacting like someone who has been emotionally starved for years and finally hit her limit. Kylie is reacting like someone walking on broken glass, afraid to be too much of anything. And you're reacting like a parent who equates control with love. You made 2 girls carry the emotional cost of your second marriage. You gave Kylie overprotection and guilt. You gave Natalie distance and blame. You've never actually held either of them, as they are only how you need them to be. That's not one mistake. That's a pattern. And until you own that, you're just going to keep losing them. Comment 2. Oh my God, you're right. You're the real victim here. I mean, all you did was ignore one daughter for years, emotionally manipulate the other, confiscate a teenager's first paycheck, read someone's private journal, and stage a family photoshoot like it's the effing finale of America's Next Top Stepchild. But sure, let's focus on how no one sees how hard you're trying. Kylie gets shoved into emotional caretaker mode, and Natalie gets gaslit every time she breathes wrong. But poor you, just a misunderstood mother trying to reenact childhood movie nights like trauma can be solved with pizza and a selfie. Pro tip. If every attempt at healing ends with both your kids leaving the room in tears, maybe you're not healing. Maybe you're just performing. But hey, keep us posted when you force them into matching Christmas sweaters and wonder why they don't clap. Second story. My boyfriend tried to saw my sill while drunk, claims he doesn't remember, showed zero remorse, and refused to apologize, so I broke up with him. Now I'm regretting it. Maybe I should have broken up. Hi all. Apologies, this is long. I am genuinely at a loss. And this is less of an ADA and more of an advice post. I just didn't know where else to post. I've been with my BF. Let's call him Red for 2 months. It's a relatively new relationship, and it had been going super well so far. As a result, I figured I'd introduce him to some of my family, as my 3 brothers were having a games night. The night was going so well. We were all drinking and playing board games and quizzes, and everyone was getting along really well with him, which I was elated about. He knew how important it was to me that they all got along, as my brothers are some of the only family I am in contact with. At one point in the night, he left the room to use the toilet, and everyone was saying how much they liked him. I started to feel a bit awful a few hours in. I was just coming down from an illness and had drunk a lot in a short space of time. I really wanted to go home, but Red convinced me to stay. My brother, whose house it was, let's call him Joe, said I could stay the night in their spare room. I agreed. Red helped me to bed and was very loving and sweet and went back to socialize once I was comfortable. I wake up to him bounding in at like 5 a.m., very, very drunk. I wasn't alarmed. We were all drinking heavily and having a good time. He falls asleep and snores so loudly I have to leave the room to try to sleep elsewhere. He wakes up sometime later to use the toilet and panics that I'm not there. When he found me on the sofa, I went back upstairs, and he burst into tears, saying how he thinks he referred to me using his ex's name a few times in front of my family, and that he was sorry. It hurt. But I told him we'd talk about it when we were both sober. He fell back to sleep, and we woke up at about 9 a.m. the next morning. When we woke up, he mentioned he was nervous. He did something stupid the night before, but couldn't remember a thing other than the ex's name issue. I shook it off and said it's probably nothing. We go back to my home and have a nice day nursing our hangovers before he feels okay enough to drive back to where he lives. Not long after he left, I got a phone call from Joe, saying Red had done some really awful stuff after I went to bed. Apparently once I left, his behavior switched very suddenly, and he became standoffish, arrogant, and rude. He was apparently saying awful racist jokes and started to insult my sister-in-law. Let's call her Jenna, who is married to my eldest brother. Let's call him Ross. Amidst the insult, however, he then apparently kept trying to touch her thighs and feet, which made Ross angry, and they almost came to punches. Joe ended up sending Red to bed and sending Ross and Jenna home. I was asleep through this whole thing. I called Ross after this phone call, and he corroborated the story. When I found out, I was mortified and absolutely livid. I called Red and told him to turn around and come back, which he did. When I told him what I'd been told, he was adamant he doesn't remember any of that, but I'm not so sure. He remembered calling me the wrong name, something everyone there picked up on. And instead of seeming remorseful or upset that he made a lot of people uncomfortable, he just kept insinuating that they were lying. This made me particularly angry, because in my mind, even if I didn't remember hurting someone, I'd still feel bad and apologize if someone said I had. I told him I couldn't trust him after that, especially as he allegedly tried to touch my sill inappropriately and said we were over. It was a very impulsive decision, one that I'm undecided on whether I regret. Red left me alone all of yesterday, but reached out today in the hopes I'd listen. He is still adamant that he doesn't remember, but wants to try to make amends. I don't really know how he would be with my family. He said through this, he's realized he drinks too much when he goes on a night out and needs to stop. I said that's only the first step, and he should want to do that regardless of whether we get back together. What is particularly confusing too, is that we have been out drinking multiple times before this, and both have drunk very heavily, and nothing like this has ever happened. Other friends I've taken him out with have all said he was great, so it feels so out of character. But then perhaps it's buried behavior that comes out with enough alcohol. I don't know. It being only 2 months in, I'm torn between wanting to continue this connection because it has been great, and before this night, I could really see things progressing and going well. But I also don't know if I can trust him again after this. He is firm that this is a one-off mistake, and he doesn't ever want to repeat this, but I don't know if I believe him. What do I do? TDLR. My BF got stupid drunk, was confrontational and inappropriate towards my brothers and their partners, and I broke up with him as a result, but am regretting it a bit. Was I right to do so? Is this fixable? Comments. Comment 1. I think dumping him was the correct decision. He's 27. He doesn't know when to stop. If he has an alcohol addiction, that's another problem. Your choice is, do you believe your family or not? If they are truthful, then how would your family get past what happened? As you pointed out, he was awful and racist and tried to hit on your sill. They are not going to get over this. Alcohol doesn't make a nice person racist or otherwise awful. Comment 2. NTA for breaking up. That's the kind of event that should make a person quit alcohol for good. If he's not making a commitment for as well as apologizing like hell to everyone, he hasn't gotten the very obvious wake-up call from his mistake, and that means there will be a next time. Don't be around for the next time. Let that be some other girl's problem. Update. Hi all. It's been a wild 24 hours. Thanks to everyone who gave me advice. It was really helpful. We ended up having a long argument, by the end of which I was fully put off. I went back to him with the mindset of giving him the benefit of the doubt, that maybe he truly was so out of it, he had no idea what he did. With that in mind, I recommended he stop drinking and go to counseling or therapy of some kind. It didn't go well at all. The whole time he kept saying he didn't remember, and because I should know him better, he couldn't believe that I'd believe my family over him. I kept trying to explain that whether he thinks he did it or not, the absolute least he should do is try to apologize to the people he made uncomfortable. But he kept refusing, saying there's no point because he was convinced he'd never be forgiven. It was only when I said, "Okay, we cannot be together due to both his drunken behavior and how he was talking to me during this argument," that he said very flippantly, "Fine, give me their names and numbers, and I'll apologize." He spent the whole day refusing to take accountability and not showing an ounce of true remorse. In my head, the lack of wanting to apologize at the very least is mad to me. If I was told I did awful things I don't remember, it'd destroy me, and I'd do whatever it takes to try and rectify the situation, even if I couldn't actually gain forgiveness. This lack of wanting really turned me off him. He kept trying to ask for one final meeting for closure, and I point blank said no. I told him I really hoped that he'll learn from this experience to look inward and work on his issues, with refusing to take responsibility for his actions. He retorted that the only thing he's learned is he needs to cut down how much he drinks. It was at that moment I was fully done. That response felt so emotionally immature to me. I'm quite shaken over this. This behavior came out of absolutely nowhere. Genuinely, I didn't see a hint of any of this, and neither did my friends or family. Things were going so well, and I was so excited at the prospect of a stable, happy relationship with him, and it's just stopped. It's made me really evaluate whether I did manage to miss something about him. Overall, I'm now having to deal with the very complex feelings of loss and relief. Thanks again for all your advice. It was the right thing to do. Comments. Comment 1. Oh, you dodged a very large bullet. I'm so glad your family had your back and told you the truth of what was happening. I also doubt he forgot what he did. He waited until you were out. That's calculating and manipulative. He was hoping he could drive a wedge between you and your family, not knowing your family was looking out for you. Give your family a big hug, because if that guy had his way, you would have been shut out from them and completely dependent on him. Good riddance. NTA. Comment 2. Phew, if you stayed with him, your eldest brother and Sil would definitely pull away from you. Not worth it for a 2-month-old relationship. The more he refused to apologize, the more I was convinced he remembered what he had done. And it does feel like he did it on purpose, so he can take you away from your brothers, so you have no one but him, and he gets to fully control you. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.